Hey, what's going on, guys? Xbox On channel, host Sega Forever here. Finally getting this podcast off. As I said in my previous video on my channel, for those of you who are subscribed to me or following me on social media, um, I'm going to start doing these types of videos, which is basically officially the podcast for the Xbox On channel, and they're going to be done on Fridays. Now, the problem with doing them on Fridays, I know for a lot of the guys that I invite to come on board to give their opinions, to discuss all things that are pop culture, but especially when it comes to the Xbox console and Microsoft in general. Um, is if they'll be able to make it or not because of the time difference. And I talked about this in the last video, but I do want to be consistent, right? And I'm talking not just about this, but I'll do a couple videos as well on a better schedule so that people know what to expect. I actually upgraded my StreamYard, which it's interesting to me because it doesn't seem as different than the stuff that's free. I mean, you can have a couple more people. I got the mid tier program. Now you can have a couple more people than, of course, usual. I think it's like 6 people. Now I can have about 10. And that's just because of the fluctuation of people that'll be on the podcast or if people show up at all. But it's in flux, man. We'll keep on working on it till we get it just right. Might have to change some days. Might have to adjust the podcast just to, which I'm willing to do for the other guys. Right, like I said, where I live, it's on the farthest point of the U.S. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and a lot of the guys are either Midwest or on the East Coast, and a couple are closer to me in LA. So um, I'll just ramble on for a little bit and then see if anybody jumps in. If you guys are jumping in, I did send the link already. Sorry about the noise, guys. I did send the link already through Twitter. Sorry, Twitter is what I use the most. I've been having so much issues with Facebook. I don't do Messenger, which is something I'll probably need to work on. But if we can, if I can get everybody on Twitter, then it'll be a lot easier because it's just easier for me. But I'm willing to work through all of that. So yeah, so just let me ramble a little bit, guys, until we see if anybody pops up. But then if nobody does, then we'll just roll with it. Again, I do apologize for this video being late. I apologize to the guys. I kind of wanted to do a little bit earlier, but I just had so much stuff going on, and it's been a crazy week for me, which is awkward because I didn't expect to be doing a lot this week. I want to catch up on some stuff, and I got blown out of the water. Pretty sure I don't have to tell you guys about that kind of stuff. Everybody's life is hectic, and things that are unexpected happened. Probably the best thing, or the biggest thing that happened to me was my car. I need to take it into the shop. Now I have a CRV 2017. Actually, a lovely car. There's a couple of quirks with it that I don't like, but overall, I think it's a great vehicle. And since I didn't have it and I actually had a rental car, it made me appreciate my vehicle even more. But yeah, I didn't have a car for a couple of days. Luckily, the dealership was nice enough to hook me up with the rental car because where I live in Hawaii, and rental cars are ridiculous right now. And I know that's all over the U.S., but Hawaii gets a lot of tourists and there's a lot of people coming here. So not only are it's hard to get a rental car, but when you do, man, it's expensive. So if you guys plan to come to Hawaii, man, save up your money. I mean, with the economy being the way it is, everything's expensive. And if you're gonna come here, and I'm not saying this to I'm not one of these guys that hate tourists and stuff like that. If you want to come here, spend your hard-earned cash. I mean, I definitely we could use it, right? I mean, I definitely appreciate it, but it might be a little bit more than you guys thought it would be, and it is. The cost of living here is ridiculous, but the cost for tourists is just as bad. All the extra taxes and stuff that you guys got to pay. Um, the food alone is ridiculous. There's so many people that come here and can't believe how much we pay to eat and just eat fast food, eating out in general, but especially fast food. Everything here costs money. And so it was kind of cool because I have a Honda, and what they ended up doing was the problem that I had was the AC unit. And so Honda, the 2017 or the CRVs in general, if you go online and you look them up, one of the issues they do have is with the air conditioning. There's a lot of people that complain about it. So I didn't get the extended warranty. What I think happened is Honda extended it because they were getting so many complaints instead of doing a recall. And so when I went to the dealership, man, it was crazy because the dealership they did they did the analysis and stuff like that. And the guy was talking to me, I know it was gonna cost a lot of money. But then he told me that I had to extend the warranty, and I was hoping it covers everything, which it did. And it even went as far as covering the cost of the rental car. So the only thing I had to pay out of pocket was some maintenance fees because I had to do a service check, and then a couple of things that they had to remove the bumper, which wasn't covered. So all in all, though, I'll definitely take that because that bill would have been $2,500 on top. I was looking at $3,500, man, with the rental car included. Right, but they picked up everything. So kudos to Honda, man. That's why I stick with them, dude. The only reason the main reason I have Honda vehicles is because I've just never had a problem with it, and they're a little bit more affordable. When things do go wrong with it, it's easier to get the parts. It is a well-supported brand here in Hawaii, and I just don't want to deal, with all the other, I live on an island, and Honda's popular here, and the dealership is good, and it's just convenient. It's the same reason why I have an iPhone. People ask me all the time, why don't I get into Android or get another brand or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'll stick with Apple because Apple's simple, right? It doesn't mean that I like them more than any other brand. It's just that most of the time when I have a problem with my iPhone, I just have to turn it off and turn it back on again. Right? It's really that simple for me, for what I do with the phone. The only reason I have a phone is so I can reach out and get in touch with my kids. That's the main thing. And that's the only reason my kids have a phone. Now I allow them to do things on their phone. Pretty good kids. But the one thing they know, my pet peeve is when I don't answer my phone call. That's that. I don't like that at all. But it's good to be able to get a hold of when you need to. Like I said, schedule is busy. Yeah, but let me see. Oh wow, we're 6 minutes in already. So we'll just roll with this, guys. Just really quickly, man. I don't plan to go too long, but I do want to talk about a couple of things. Like I said, welcome to the podcast, the Wrecking Crew. This is going to be again, pops. I just want to stress this. We're going to talk about pop culture in general on this channel. I'm definitely going to do that, but the focus will be Xbox. And that's the reason why I'm doing this podcast, because I just feel there's not a lot of Xbox representation out there, at least for a person like myself. Right? I'm not just a fan of Xbox. Right? I'm also a consumer, and the same thing, and that applies to what goes on YouTube. Right? There's a lot of people I follow. There's a lot of people I used to follow. Right, but for myself and my brand, and if you guys follow me on this channel, you follow the type of content I put out. And if you guys follow me on social media, you guys know that I am very pro Xbox. So I don't expect anything less from the people that I follow. Now, I have no problems getting different perspectives. There's people that I follow across the board, right? But, you don't have to agree with me on everything. But as long as you're just being honest and you're being yourself, and you're speaking either you're speaking truth or you're speaking from the heart. Even if I disagree with you, man, I don't have a problem with that. But on the Xbox side, and I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you guys this, but not everybody's pro Xbox, even though they claim to be that way. A lot of these guys are just basically gamers. Maybe the Xbox is the system of their choice, right? But I mean, I feel if the Xbox went away, they would easily convert over to the Switch or the PlayStation because they have those consoles as well. They're multi-console owners, which I used to be. I used to be a hardcore gamer. A gamer first and foremost, even though I was a huge Sega fan. But once Sega left the industry, man, that was it for me. So, I mean, the type of dedication and stuff like I did, and I still do with Sega, man. I try and support them as much as possible. They're definitely not the same company, if I'm being honest, man. I'm old school, right? But I still keep up with them, still see what they're doing. I track not just the people that work for the company, but the people that used to work for the company. I always keep up with the news. And so, I don't have that type of affiliation with Xbox. It is my system of choice. I am a fan, and most importantly, a consumer. But when this next generation of consoles started off in 2013, I just put my eggs in one basket and decided to follow Microsoft for the various reasons that I've said on previous videos, which I touch on a little bit here, just to give you guys some context, right? I ended up going with Microsoft just because they remind me so much of Sega. And what I mean by that is they're the company that tends to push the envelope, tends to push the cutting edge of technology when it comes to gaming. They try and do a lot of different things, whether it's for just pushing the industry forward, for making money. They cover all their bases, and you need that. That's the type of company you need right now in gaming, and that's the company we needed in 2013 for all the crap that Microsoft gets. for 2013, which again, I've said this a thousand times, I'll say it again. I feel unwarranted, uh, the unwarranted hate that they got. Overall, man, if you look at what they were trying to do, what they were trying to accomplish, they were pushing the industry forward. A lot of people didn't like the TV stuff. I definitely did. You know, like I said, this is why this podcast will focus not just on Xbox but on pop culture, right? Because I do comics, I do movies, I do all that stuff. You know, or I grew up in that kind of thing. Just before I hit this podcast, I wanted to start off a little bit earlier. But then I had to eat dinner, and as I was eating dinner, I watched a movie on Netflix. It was a Gerard Butler. And I think it's called "Are You Still Alive?" or "Still Alive?" And it's just something that popped up on my feed. It's something that I follow Netflix, so it's a movie that hit my queue, and then I ended up watching it. You know, just while I was eating dinner, and I got so much. I got so engrossed by it. Yeah, I mean, it's not look. It's a great movie. I think it's a great movie. Um, by the Netflix standard, but I like Gerard Butler, and then they had a pretty good cast as well, man. A lot of people that you recognize. But it definitely was a lot better than I thought it would be, and I kind of got involved in it. And before you know, it was late, and I was like, I gotta jump on this podcast, and that's why I'm here. But that's why I've thrown my hat in with Microsoft, because they're the only people that are trying to evolve gaming. Um, and that's basically what I want to talk about tonight, right? Is this why Microsoft should be the leader in the gaming, as far as in the gaming industry, that they should be the leader, because they kind of are already, right? If we're being honest, man, if you check your bias at the door, if there's any Sony guys that listen to this or any Nintendo guys that listen to this, right? Not trying to discount your guys' systems. Well, I don't care about Sony, but we're Nintendo. But we all occupy this space, right? But if we're all being honest, right, it's Microsoft is the only company that's trying to push gaming forward. Now, some people might say they have no choice because of what happened in 2013. I'll push back on them and say it's Microsoft has always been this way. Right? Just look at the history. Again, I pushed this before. I'll push it on my channel again because a lot of people need to watch the Xbox documentary that was released a couple months ago, Power On, which is basically the story of Microsoft and Xbox. And it gives you insight into what a lot of the stuff that Microsoft, not just their history, but a lot of stuff that their history um, influenced the gaming industry as a whole. You know, a lot of stuff that you have now, you would not have if it wasn't for Microsoft and Xbox. And that's just the truth, right? So it's because of that innovation and taking those risks that Microsoft easily reminded me of Sega. Because that's how Sega always was. Of course, to their detriment, right? They didn't have the cash flow like Microsoft does, so that's a good thing that Microsoft has. You know, that's their main superpower, right? Is that they have a lot of money because they make Windows, as you can see with all the news going on, like with the AKB purchase, you know, all the stuff that hits the news, and that's what I mean. You know, Microsoft by default is the leader in the gaming industry, whether good or bad, whether the news is good or bad, whether whatever the moves that they make people happy, or they make them mad, right? It doesn't matter, man. They basically suck out all the air in the room, right? And when it's been for the last 2 years, you guys know this, man. Again, if you're being honest, if you check a bias at the door, and bias, not just being like a pro Sony or pro Nintendo, just your bias as in you don't like Microsoft as a company or you can't stand the Xbox. But if you're just being honest about it, man, Microsoft dominates the gaming news cycle, right? They always do. For example, right, you have the Activision Blizzard. That thing, when that was first announced, right, when that announcement was first made, that thing that rocked the entire industry. I mean, it rocked it. It was crazy, right? I mean, we talked about it for months. I mean, that was the main focus. And even after that, talking about the shock and awe of the cost, the shock and awe that Microsoft could actually do a purchase like that they could actually buy Activision. I mean, it actually showed the Bethesda deal was nuts, but when they did the Activision Blizzard deal, right, that put them on a whole nother, that was like a wake up call to everybody, right? And by doing that, people started paying attention more. And that's what I mean about being an industry leader, right? And as you can see, like you see what happened, right? All the reactions from people, the gaming media, it actually shut up all the haters, right? Because this is Microsoft flexing its muscle, right? It's showing the type of power they have and influence and money, right? All three of those are bound up into one, and a lot of people have to be quiet. People are still nipping at their heels, right? People still being petty towards them, but that changed the narrative, dude. That killed a lot of the narrative that was going on with Xbox, right? Because like I said, they flexed that muscle, man, and people knew this is the Microsoft that they fear, right? This is the superpower in this gaming industry, and that's what Microsoft is. They are the superpower. If we're talking about um, like Sony and Nintendo, right? And so people, acted out accordingly, right? Gaming media had to shut up. Ponies, had to, they had to walk on eggshells. Xbox guys were ecstatic, right? Like, hat tip to the godfather of Xbox, man, Zaire, way back in the day. He used to say that all the time, man. Like Microsoft needs to be the behemoth that we know they should be, right? And this is Microsoft being that behemoth, right? In full effect, man, for everybody to see. That is not, and that is not me. I'm not embellishing any of that, dude. You guys see it for yourself, right? And the effects of that again, like if you look at what's going on with ABK and the purchase, and you're looking at who is trying to stop that purchase from happening, which is Sony, that's the type of influence Microsoft has, right? Because a lot of people are saying, well, Sony, they're the most powerful. Microsoft themselves kind of laid themselves out there. And I'm not saying what Microsoft said to the consumer authority and stuff like CMA over in Great Britain. I mean, I'm not saying that they're lying about what they're saying. And I think they're being as honest as possible, man. I think some people are saying that they're trying to play the victim or trying to downplay their hand. And the reason I don't like when people say that is because those are people that can't distinguish the difference between Microsoft, the company, and Xbox, the division of Microsoft, the company, right? Because, like I said, everything Microsoft is saying is true, right? I, for one, right, I've done videos talking about that. I'll touch on it a little bit here. But it sends everybody, whatever they do, good or bad, or how people look at it as being good or being bad, right? It just dominates the news cycle, right? And if you're Sony and you're fighting this hard, as people are saying, well, Sony should be the leader. Well, if they're going to be the leader, they need to lead, right? What they're trying to do with the Activision Blizzard deal, trying to get it canceled, all the dirt that's coming up. And look, it doesn't surprise me as a Sega fan, man, because I've been dealing with Sony since they came into the industry, right? Sony is not, whatever they're doing now does not surprise me. They've always been this way. But what you're seeing though is you're getting to see the details. So it's not shocking to me that Sony does the things that they do, because they don't look at it as being dirty or evil or greedy, right? They just think of it as business, and they've always been that way, right? The difference being now is Microsoft is actually pushing back, and they're using their own abilities and their own power, which again is the money, right? But if you're going to be the console leader, or if you're going to be the industry leader when it comes to gaming, this is not how you act. The way Sony's acting is not the actions of a superpower in gaming, right? The only company that acts, that actually acts like a leader in this gaming industry is Microsoft, right? You see what they've done with Game Pass. You see what they've done with backward compatibility, right? You see the type of hardware they've been putting out. You see the type of just the little things they do with the gaming, right? With the boost and all that kind of stuff. That's the actions of somebody who's not just looking at their bottom line or what their console is offering now. They're actually looking to the future, and that's what Phil Spencer has talked about. Phil Spencer has talked about that in Monson. For a lot of people, it was hard to see because of all the turmoil going on in this current console generation. Again, bring up 2013 to 2015, dealing with all the stuff that was going on in the gaming industry and all the hate that Microsoft was getting. And when Phil Spencer came on board, right, he had a different game plan, and he was letting people know, but people were not listening to him at all. And the reason they weren't listening to him is because, it was just, Microsoft was just this big pinata, or Xbox was just this big pinata, right? But he laid it out way back then. I remember in 2015 when he started talking about it, and it was interesting to me because I watched the interviews, and I'm not saying I'm clairvoyant or anything like that. I didn't understand it completely myself, right? It takes action a lot of times for people to understand what's going on. But I did. The thing that struck me the most about Phil Spencer, and people were saying that when he spoke as the head of Xbox, that he was speaking like around things or just being political and stuff like that. When he'd be asked questions and stuff, he wouldn't give like whole answers and stuff like that. But every time I listened to him, he spoke like a person that was looking at the bigger picture. And that's one of the things he said in his interview back in 2015, that long ago, when they were asking him what, competing with Sony and Nintendo and stuff like that. And he basically said, well, we're looking at like Amazon. Right. And it's those little things he did, those little cues that he gave, which I'm not saying look, and it wasn't meant to be cryptic or anything like that. He's just speaking honestly. Right. It's just for a lot of us, it was hard for us to grasp that. Hebot did a video. Hebot, the world's most powerful gamer, he did a video talking about this, right, where he talked about. Wait, hold on, guys. I think I got a message. Okay, where he was talking about that. In fact, he did this video today or yesterday. I was watching it, and then how people get caught up in stuff, and they they're not subject matter experts. They're trying to be nice, right? And he's 100% correct, man. And that's what I mean. I mean, look, I can see a lot of stuff on my videos. I talk about Microsoft a lot. A lot of it's my own opinion of what they do and what they don't do. Some things that I think they should do, but those are my opinions, right? But I don't go out there and put myself as a subject matter expert. Right? There's some stuff that you can look at and you just read the tea leaves and you can see happening. That's for me. A lot of times, I know I don't do a lot of videos and stuff like that. I'll try and do that on my channel to give people a little bit more foresight and stuff like that. But some stuff is really pretty simple, right? If you just match up the numbers and you look at their actions and you actually listen to what they're saying, realizing that Microsoft is a $1 trillion company, they just can't talk. They can't talk about things casually. That's why they don't commit to a lot of stuff, man, because there's a lot of stuff they have in the works, which you're seeing right now in 2022. A lot of the stuff that you love right now with Microsoft and Xbox in 2022 was the stuff that they were talking about for the last 3-4 years. But and you've seen that come into fruition over the last 2 years. The roadmap everybody was complaining about. You actually got it. Right? And it's funny to me because you have a lot of Xbox guys now. They didn't like that roadmap, or they couldn't see that roadmap because it wasn't the roadmap that they wanted to see. Right? They were looking at things. I said this on my videos all the time. Look at what you have, not what you don't have. And for a lot of these Xbox guys, they're constantly comparing Microsoft to PlayStation or Nintendo, always thinking that Microsoft needs to be like that company. They don't have to be. Microsoft can't be those two companies, man. Microsoft is a different breed, and I'm not just talking about being a shooter box or being the dude bro box. Right? Microsoft since 2013 has been in constant flux, man. They constantly pushed the envelope. They constantly reinvented themselves. Some of that because of what was happening, right? A lot of the hate that they were getting unfairly. There's a lot of stuff that was happening to them that they had to adjust. But it was interesting to me is like they built a plan, right? And they listened to the players, right? They listened to the gamers out there. They listened to the consumers. But at some point in time, right, they had to stop listening to these guys and actually start doing stuff, right? Luckily, they have a lot of money, right? Because there's some stuff that they did, didn't work out the way they wanted to, but they course corrected, as every company should, no matter how rich you are, right? And perfect example again. I'll use these guys as a perfect example. Hey, what's up? What's up, Paul? Hey, don't worry, they're not messing around. Sorry, I'll put this up. They have all the numbers. It's evident based on it. Yeah, I 100%. Trust me, man. I'm good. I'm good. In fact, I'm enjoying all of this stuff now. I just have my popcorn, sit back and watch everything happen in real time, right? Because it's funny to me. Look at the narrative that came out that the Series S is holding gaming back, right? And I thought that was funny. I understand, right? That is the people that don't like Xbox and stuff like that. They rehash all these talking points. But it doesn't apply anymore, man. I know that. A lot of the Xbox guys know that because it's not the Series S. It's a cheap investment into next gen gaming, right? But it's made for the normals. That's what it's made for. That's why it's doing so well. That's the problem sometimes with guys like myself and others in the gaming community that are hardcore, right? And I shouldn't say hardcore. I'm not as hardcore as I used to be. And I'm not saying that I don't like to be hardcore. I don't throw myself under the bus. Really, I'm not that way. But yeah, it's not made for us per se. I mean, I own both. I love both. I've used them both, right? But I use my X a little bit more, right? But it's basically Microsoft whatever people want, exactly as Phil said, wherever they want to play, however they want to play, with whoever they want to play, using whatever they want to play. You want to buy your games physical, they got that. You want to buy a digital, you can do that. You want to play it on the Series X, get the full experience, you got that. Series S, which almost is the Series S is good, man. Yeah, like you said, yeah, it's a great machine. Exactly, it is an amazing machine. Considering that it's considered the second fiddle to the X, right? It's like that. It's like the X is Batman and the S would be considered Robin, but that's not. I would say that the Series S is more like that way. I mean, it can definitely hold its own, right? It punches way above its weight. Um, and it's cheap though, but it's not made for that. It's made. Yeah, when you break it down, yeah, and that's been the good thing this week. How a lot of people have been coming out talking about that, right? And it's also great that people that own the system are speaking out, and even the other developers when all this bad news was coming out. But the bottom line is that the average person doesn't care, right? I'm telling you, holiday season when the parents go find out about Game Pass and they go see the price, this will be under the Christmas tree. And the kids will love it too, man, because a lot of like my daughter, dude, my daughter's she plays on her series, or she plays on the 1S. And the only reason I have the 1S going on is because I have so many games, and she likes to switch in and out of games. The only problem I have with the Series S is and the X, to be honest with you, is the storage space. I mean, I have external games, but if you notice, a lot of them are S and X now, so you got to play them off a hard drive, and you got to constantly switch them. That's the only thing I think they could improve on. But given the supply shortages and all that kind of stuff, everything that's going on with the supply chain, I can kind of see, and manufacturing in general, I think they would have come up with some kind of solution by now, especially with third party. But that's the only thing I complain. Not complain about it. It's a reality, right? I got to take that into consideration. In other words, so that's why. And my daughter has no problem playing on the Series S. Yeah, what's up, Isa? Yeah, exactly. I started off with a Series S and later upgraded to an X. Dude, the S is a beast. You ain't getting a gaming PC for it. Yep. Yeah, and that's another thing too. People are talking about. Not everybody has high-end PCs, and that's the thing. You don't need it. That's what Microsoft has been preaching to these guys, or been not preaching, but they've been telling the community this, right? Phil Spencer gets it, right? They're looking at the bigger picture again, and that's why I do get frustrated with our own community, man, because I'm like, dude, you guys stop looking at what other people have. Look at what we got. Be appreciative, and that's why I've been going hardcore on my content and on my channel, man, because I'm looking at people and I'm like, do you guys play games? And I throw myself under the bus when it comes to that too, because I try and play as many games as possible, man. I just don't have the time. But for a lot of people, I mean, do you play the games or do you just sit on social media talking about it? That's a big difference. But I wish I was younger, man. The younger me would have been having a blast, even more fun. Man, there's times I come home and I want to play, man. I just can't. It's like my car. I had problems with my car this week, dude. And I thought I was gonna have to pay a lot of money for it. Thank goodness that thing was under warranty. And then so I didn't have to worry about that. But it definitely took up time, man. Yeah, if I had only an S to game with, I'd be happy. Yep. And that's what's happening, dude. Dude, I don't know if you guys keep up on Twitter with the people in Japan. Because I was already following gamers in Japan on my Twitter feed, and it was shocking me how many of them were actually posting pictures of them getting the S. And then there's like this little community of Twitter in Japan where they're helping each other out trying to find it because it's hard to find initially. And then they were talking to each other about what store has it, what district you need to go to, and people have it. It was almost like a treasure hunt kind of thing online. It was pretty cool. Oh yeah, 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 and that's been the trump card for them, man. Is that Game Pass? I had Game Pass from the beginning, and I liked it. I'm a gamer. I love to play different types of games. But the Game Pass then and the Game Pass now totally different. I don't know about you guys, but October sucked bad, and I don't mean that as in like it was horrible. Game Pass was horrible. I'm talking about the amount of games was just too much for me. I have at least on backlog within Game Pass itself 7 games right now, and a couple of them I wanted to play. Haven't even touched it. Not even close. I ended up I did the stupid thing of buying Modern Warfare when it was on sale, and I got sucked into that. Um, that stupid Disney Infinity because my daughter was playing that, so then I started playing that with her. I mean, like alongside her. They don't have co-op yet because we both liked Animal Crossing when I was growing up. When my daughter was little, I played Animal Crossing with her. She loved that game. Um, and then I've been switching off between Backbone, which I think is going to go leave. Oh shoot! In fact, I think I got to buy it because I think it's going to leave the service soon. And it's just a ton of games, man. I touched Persona 5 a little bit. Got to go back and play that. I'm surprised that Game Pass only accounts for 15% of Xbox. I thought it would be way more. Yeah, yeah, that's not bad considering. It was interesting to hear Phil Spencer talk about as far as the overall of the console, and that's why I think with the PC Game Pass on PC, as well as trying to take it mobile and use the cloud, they're trying to reach a broader base. Because I mean, look, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I hate when people tell me this. You know, I'm not that type of person, man. I look at the numbers and the figures, and I try and come at it analytically, right? But you know, the economy and the pandemic is a real thing. Not to make excuses or anything like that, but you know, when it comes to paying your rent, your electricity, and food, or buying an Xbox, something's got to give. I mean, I love Xbox, but you can't. It won't feed you. Yeah, but yeah, I think they were expecting more, but then with things opening up as well, like you see, the interesting thing to me about that, and I'm not saying this to you, Issa, I'm talking about in the general, like in the pop culture media, right? In general, when they talk about Xbox or in the gaming media specifically, but it's funny that they don't mention Netflix and they don't mention Disney Plus because they're all rivals right now. I saw an interesting commercial for I think it's Rocket. It's an app that you can buy to track your subscriptions. And I saw their newest commercial, and it actually had it had Xbox on it, which is definitely Game Pass, right? Because it is a subscription service, right? And so you have a lot of people jockeying um, for your money right now, and money is a bit tight. For most people, money is a bit tight. Not everybody, right? And then for a lot of people, if you're just a gamer, maybe you're not into anything else. Maybe this is your one hobby, right? And that's a whole other discussion to be had. But for a lot of people, right, that's a thing. So, and it's unfortunate, man, because I think Microsoft, even with their consoles and stuff like that, if they would have had even more in stock when everything was hitting, right? But everybody was caught off guard, right? Dude, I actually, I couldn't. I have to go to the gym and do therapy type exercising and stuff like that, and they shut down the gyms. I have to do stuff in my garage. And then I was trying to pick up equipment in my garage, simple like light dumbbells so I can do stuff for my shoulders, got shoulder pain. And I was trying to do that. And I couldn't even get a pair of dumbbells. You couldn't get nothing, not even 2 pounds. Right? Because I just have to do rotations with my shoulders and stuff like that. It's crazy. But yeah, that is if I'm being honest, I think they should be happy that they're just in the plus, given everything that's going on. You say it will as they get more subscribers. Yeah, I've talked about this on this channel, Google, about how I'm looking at I call it the road to 50 million. That was the milestone I'm looking at Microsoft to hit. I know they don't share those numbers, but they've got to be around 30 by now. I think they were at 18 that they gave, and then at 25, they got to be 30, 35. Now, given everything that's going on with inflation and stuff like that, maybe I think that's maybe what they mean. They were expecting to be at a certain point, so maybe they're not at that 35. But it's the same thing with Xbox Live. I remember when that first launched, and then it took a little bit of time, right, initially, and then we got the holiday season coming up, so it'll be interesting to see how they do well this holiday season. But I agree with you. Once they get the subscribers, it's game over. This is why when people are talking about the Activision Blizzard thing, like I'm a proponent of. I mean, you guys can disagree with me, but I'm a proponent of. I don't care. I think Microsoft should just keep it since they own it. And so I saw that Phil Spencer has been talking about putting it on all the systems and stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure he's not lying about that. But I did a video talking about this where there's a little bit of a wordage that they use when they're presenting the facts about the Activision purchase, and it was basically Phil Spencer was saying, yeah, if it makes sense, right? They'll continue putting it on other systems if it makes sense. So one of the things I've always been looking at is because a lot of people were saying that the Activision Blizzard deal will not, um, they can't take Call of Duty off of other consoles. They'll lose money. And for me, it's like, well, but you won't lose any money if everybody comes over to Xbox. Right? That's the thing I was looking at, right? Because that's what happened. I mean, dude, I'm old and I've been playing video games for years, right? And I was there when Modern Warfare hit. That Modern Warfare was huge, right? And Modern Warfare was always associated with 360. And then Microsoft didn't do the deal, and then Sony picked them up, and people actually switched over. I think Microsoft learned a valuable lesson that they didn't really have the fans they thought they did. Right? They really have a good creation on GP. Game Pass is a lot of the top games even on PC. Yeah, I think that's what threw the PC stuff off. Even me, I'm not gonna lie, right? Because people are wondering, like on the console side, people were complaining that they were just gonna focus more on PC and not the console. And of course, on the PC side, right, people were wondering, well, what kind of games are we gonna have? And so it's interesting to see them actually put in top tier games in both console and PC. I mean, and this is indisputable for the simple fact that Sony's doing it now. Sony's putting a couple of they're putting their main titles on there. Not the day one stuff, though I see that happening, right? I mean, they got to be competitive. 7 games backlog. That's rookie numbers. I got no. Okay, so yeah, I have like over 500-600 games in backlog, and I have a ton of games that I haven't played through yet, right? And some of it is because of the way I play, and it's just some of the games I play, right? Like I got addicted to what is that pressure washer game. I could not believe it. I mean, I like simulated games, but that's one of the last games I thought I'd be addicted to, and I spent hours playing that game. I'm talking about stuff like that, and that's what's dangerous about Game Pass. And that's one of the things I don't like about Game Pass, and it's not against the system; it's more to do with me. I guess the service that has more to do with me, and that is sometimes I feel like it's a job now, right? Because I have to set time. Like if I'm going to play COD, I limit myself to an hour so that I can play like Dreamlight Valley on Disney, or jump into Persona 5. I wanted to get back into the Yakuza series, right? I just picked up what is that? The Good Life, which is an indie game that was on Xbox Game Pass, and it dropped off, and I bought it. In fact, I find myself doing that a lot. I'll play the game. I know that I'll like it. Because most games, I already know most games that I'll like. And then with Game Pass, you get to try it out. You get into it. And then I just end up buying them. But unfortunately, since I already own them, they kind of fall into that backlog. That's what's been happening with me. It's crazy. And then for people out there that, are wondering, well, maybe, like being the situation we're in now with the economy and stuff like that, maybe you guys like are worried about the money or don't have the money. All you have to do is just add those games to your wish list, right? So like say it's an indie game, but it's $29.99. Microsoft gives you a 10-20% off, so I guess $22-19 or something like that. Just even if that's too much for you, you don't have the cash on you. Just wish list it, right? And just wait till Microsoft has one of their big sales. It's crazy, man. Microsoft, there's sales going on right now, and then one of the reasons I'm not buying some of those games is I just they just end up sitting there. Oh wow, I need to check that app out. I'm juggling my TV subscription. Yeah, it's called Rocket. I tried to use it, but I have a federal credit union, so I can't get the bank won't let me let me do that. So for some reason, it never gave me a direct answer. But yeah, it's a cool app. But when I saw that commercial, to me, it's like Microsoft has arrived. That's what you want to see. You want to see Microsoft like getting that type of general recognition, and of course with all the normies coming over, right? And we saw what Satya said, like the majority of the people. Again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but the majority of the people are on the Series S are first time into the Microsoft ecosystem, and that's what you want, and you want those people in there. This is why the content is so important. It's just like Netflix. It's not that complicated. It's just like Netflix, right? And there's like even with Netflix now, right? I think we've gotten so spoiled. But Netflix is like, you're just so used to it. But I mean, they constantly put in content. Like for me, there's some stuff on Netflix I don't care about. I don't like most of the reality shows that they put on there, right? But I love a lot of the cooking stuff, the documentary stuff. I watch a lot of K dramas. Um, their anime is solid, dude. I have a subscription to Crunchyroll, and because Sony owns them now, the content is weird now. Like you're not getting all the newest stuff. right? And I spent a lot of time. I might actually cancel my Crunchyroll because I'm spending a lot more time watching the anime on Netflix, right? And it's becoming brutal, man. This content wars is probably the stuff that people need to pay more attention to, right? Because and that's why I think it is important for Microsoft to have their own content, right? I'm not one of these guys that are like AAA games are the end all and be all, or that Japanese games are the end all and be all. Like they, I have no problem against it, and I have nothing against them. If you like that kind of stuff, that's cool. I think Microsoft's approach to it is they're just trying to build something for everybody, and I think that's the better game plan, and it's been working well for them so far. Yeah, but I definitely recommend that app. I wish I could use it because it just makes it easier. You can from your app, you can just cancel the subscription instead of like digging through your stuff and then emailing the people and then unsubscribing from stuff. Like 2 or 3 extra steps on the app. You just click on it and it's done. Yep, there's so many subscriptions nowadays. Yeah, yeah, and you got to be savvy, man. You got to be savvy. The great thing about having that many subscriptions is you have a lot of options as well. Like I haven't been happy with a lot of the Disney Plus stuff that's been coming out. I know there's going to be a couple shows later on. I've already watched. I grew up a big Disney fan. I've watched most of the new stuff that I like. Um, I love the old stuff and stuff like that, but my kids aren't watching it as much as well. So the family plan's coming out for Xbox. It should be dropping next year. But my daughter I already got her Game Pass stuff, so I'll just take off the Disney Plus, wait for them to get stuff that I like, or be more consistent with their programming, where I'll keep it, right? But yeah, it's I just like having those options. Though I understand it is frustrating. And look, I'm not trying to plug Rocket. I'm not a spokesman for them, but anything that can help you keep track of this stuff. That's what Game Pass needs. Game Pass needs something like that, dude. How is Persona 5? I downloaded it, but I'm scared to play it because it seems kind of overwhelming with content. It's super stylized, dude. Now I can see, this is the first time I'm playing Persona. Well, I had the fighting game, which I liked, right? And it kind of has like the arc system feel. I love fighting games, or I used to love them more, but I'm old now, man. I can't. My son destroys me in Street Fighter, so and I used to play tournaments and stuff like that back in the day. But yeah, the only thing it can be overwhelming, dude. If you're not used to that kind of content, like I watch anime. I used to watch anime back in the day. Got back into it because my kids started watching it. I had to maintain. I didn't want them watching stuff that I don't want. I don't approve of. And the sad thing about it is I got more into it. I mean, my kids are into it, but I feel like I'm more into it than them, right? Like I watch stuff like Food Wars, and I started watching Food Wars. My daughter's like, "Dad, are you watching that show?" And I was like, "Yeah." So there's stuff that I won't allow them to watch. And but if you're used to that type of over the top, like I don't know if you watch My Hero Academia. Yeah, it's that type of action stylized feel to it. I mean, I think it looks amazing, but then again, like I said, I'm an anime fan. Love the artwork. The characters are solid. I'm not that deep into it, right? But it's basically a turn-based game. It's just that what it is as a turn-based game, it just adds that anime type feel to it, right? So if you're into that kind of stuff, it's definitely the game for you. But I will say though, I did like the battle systems, not too complicated, but when you're doing specific things, and then if you end up liking the characters go with the gameplay. It's similar. I don't know if you guys have played Hades. Um, it's basically a dungeon crawler type game or dungeon. Guys, I'm slipping here. But the type a rogue, it's a roguelike type game, right? So a lot of people don't like roguelike type games. But when you play Hades, the way the gameplay is interacted with the characters and the story, and then with the animation and then the music and the dialogue, the voice acting is solid, dude. It's like you're playing something more than what you think a roguelike would be. And I think that's why Persona is liked by so many people. I don't, like I said, I'm pretty sure some people do not like it. I know some people that don't like those type of games. There's certain games that I don't like. Like I'm not a big Dark Souls. Like my friend wants me to play Elden Ring, but I'm like, I just see Dark Souls. I could be wrong. If it comes on Game Pass, I'll definitely try it. But yeah, the best word I can give you personify is hyper stylized. That feeling of keeping us up is so true, but I'm starting to go back to just playing yeah. As long as I play 3 to 4 games a month or Game Pass, I'm okay with it. Same with like Disney or Amazon Prime. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's funny when I'm hearing people complain about Game Pass, what they've been complaining about, like the price hike, the supposed price hike that's supposed to happen. And I was listening to that, just thinking to myself, dude, who are these people? right? I mean, and I'm not talking like just a legitimate gripe, right? Like one of my friends will not get Game Pass, and the reason he won't get Game Pass, which I think is a legitimate reason, the reason he won't get Game Pass or subscribe to it is because he's afraid that he'll get addicted to it. So in other words, he loves playing games. But if he gets Game Pass and he has all these games, he's kind of like me. He likes a variety of stuff. And when he looks at Game Pass, it has a lot of stuff that he wants to play or try out. But from trying out, he ends up playing it. And before you know it, right, he shirks other stuff. He just had another baby, right? He has two kids already, right? And he knows how he is, and he says he can't have a service like Game Pass because it'll be a problem for him. Stuff like that to me is legitimate when people tell me that. When you're complaining about price hikes, again, considering when it happens, right? It's just something that Phil Spencer talked about, answering a question, right? And of course, as we know, if you guys are if you guys are Xbox all in like I am, right? One of the best things that we have is that hate, right? And people don't like Xbox, so they're always keeping Microsoft at whether it's I agree with them or not, right? It's a good check. Right, so Microsoft just won't go off, like how they tried to do with gold, right? Tried to raise the price of that, and people went nuts. People absolutely went bonkers, and then it took what, like a day. My daughter, I said this on my last podcast, I'll say it here, but my daughter plays Overwatch, and she was having a hard time getting into games. They were having problems, right? And she's stuck with it, and she's playing it again. But I told her, it's like, oh, it's unfortunate that Microsoft doesn't uh, own Activision Blizzard yet, because if Microsoft owned it, man, they would be getting so much hate. They would have fixed that game within 2 days. They would have fixed it in 2 days, and I told my daughter Microsoft would give her the battle pass for free, because that's what Microsoft does, right? That's just that type of company they are. Persona 5 is awesome, but yeah, it's a time meeting game. It's a meeting, or yeah, it is, and the dialogue too, right? Yeah, sorry, Isa. That's another thing you got to take into consideration, right? It is story driven, not as bad as some other games, right? But it's the nature of the type of game that it is. That's how some people who talk about like anime, or they talk about these JRPGs and stuff like that, don't play it because they don't. You can tell they don't play it because they say, yeah, the way they talk about the game, they don't know stuff like that. Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely, yeah. That's another, yeah. I'll probably just end up buying it and just sitting there till I get around to it. Yeah, that kind of scares me because I try to get 100% of most games I play. Oh, dude, good job. You're a better man than me. I think my main problem is I play games like COD, and then I already had bought Chivalry too. That game is pretty awesome. Games like that. Like I was addicted to Vermintide. I was addicted to Killing Floor. Like I'm addicted as in like I play like every day, just come home and play. I love that meta class. That was probably one of the best classes I've ever played in any multiplayer. But yeah, that's always a good. Dude, that's good to 100% your game. Man. So, oh man, yeah, yeah. I only 100% the really easy games. I can imagine 100% on AC Valhalla being like 100 plus hours. No. Nope. I'll probably be retired and old folks home before I could ever do that. Yeah, I haven't played Elden Ring 2. I prefer just playing bite-sized straightforward games. And that's what Game Pass has, dude. Nobody gives Game Pass that credit. That's what irritates me the most. Right, is all those indie games. And Microsoft, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in 2013, Microsoft was getting so much hate. And then, like, everything was like, okay, it was the power narrative, right? It was the price narrative. But one of the things they kept on getting hit on was the indie games, right? Which they did not have a lot of. And it was interesting that they did ID at Xbox, right? They put a guy who's actually into gaming, Chris Charla, ahead of that program, and they grew it for years until now, until 2022. From 20, I think like 2014 on, they started off really small, right? They started building those relationships with the people, because for a lot of them, a lot of the people, was like, okay, you're Microsoft. What do you, what's the angle? But Microsoft was straightforward with them, right? And then of course when Phil took over, it went to new heights. And so that's why when you turn on your Game Pass, right, it's not, you have all these plethora of games. And that's the amazing thing too, because when I was growing up, right, you had games that were dumpster diver type games. Dude, I grew up in the era of the bad comic book games and the bad movie games, right? They slap a sticker on it, put the game out, right? It was trash. Um, or it wasn't what you expected, right? And you had that kind of stuff. But these are not those times. And this is definitely not those indie games. Even the games that you wouldn't even consider to, like some people like, what's that game that came out? Dude? It's like a coding type game. even that type of game, you can see that that might not be your type of game. Is definitely challenging for me. I'm not all into that kind of stuff, but at least you can see that the people making those games are putting the time and effort, right? It's something that they want to do, something that they're into, right? So you can actually feel that. It's just like watching a good indie movie. If you grew up like me in the '90s, well, I grew up in the '80s, but definitely in the '90s as well, when independent film got so big, right? You can actually tell a lot of those movies, though not the best, the highest quality, big budget. There's a labor of love that was put into a lot of those productions, and you can feel it within the games now. People are actually happy making those type of games, and you got people like us who love to play them. Or I'll speak for myself. I definitely love playing indie games now. I mean, I always have, but especially now. You know, what's the other one? Echo Generation. Man, I just bought a bunch of them because they're going off. They're leaving the Faraway Tides. I just have so many. I just bought the Good Life. I bought that one. Right. These are not your these is not your daddy's indie games. Yeah, but Elden Ring, man, I hope they bring it over. I would definitely try it because I'm hopefully some of the people that I know that play it, they don't like the type of games either. But there's just something about it that they like that causes them to enjoy the game, but also to play it regularly and then to even beat it. Right. So, like playing a rogue like Hades. That Hades, I absolutely love that game. And the gameplay is solid, right? The controls tight, all of that stuff. But if I'm being honest, man, it's just the characters. It's the reimagination of like the Greek mythology, which people have been doing for years, but they've got a certain hold onto it, and that fits their style. And I'm talking not just about the art, but the gameplay, right? And the dialogue to root it, and whoever they got to do the voicing is solid. Hades is awesome, man. I love it. Do you use Microsoft Rewards? I haven't paid for any of my games since I got the X. Yeah, I use it. I bought games on because I just love playing games, but I use it definitely. I'm not gonna lie. I also use it for my movies sometimes, right? When they have sales. Yeah, but I use it all the time. I use Bing. Bing is awesome. In fact, it was smart of them to do that because it got me off of Google. I can't stand Google anyway. But Bing, that's like my preferred search engine, and that's just because I wanted to get points from Microsoft for my Game Pass. Not every game has to be a AAA blockbuster. I like indie games way more, but I understand that you need those big games to attract a lot of audience. Yeah, yeah, something for everybody. Microsoft basically what they were doing in the early like 2014, 2015 was just taking stuff and just find everything about on the wall and see what sticks. That's basically what they were doing, and they were listening to with their audience as well. But I think what they figured out in 2015 is what some of the criticism that they were getting was not helpful. Right? There's a lot of people that just hate them that were just saying stuff, right? Because they would do things like bring people were like, we need more of these type of games. They would do that. You need more power. They would do that. You guys need to be better with your communication. Fix this, fix that, right? And every time they would do something, somebody else would complain about it. So I would like to think, at least as this is what I see, is that they still listen to the consumers, right? But what they did, they built a roadmap that everybody wanted, but they built their own roadmap and they're following that roadmap. That's why the narrative about the Series S being underpowered doesn't play out anymore because it's not built for power. If you want power or holding the generation back, that's not what its goal is. And it's not even doing that, right? If we're all being honest, right? All biases aside. But that's why you have a Series X, right? You can get that instead. But the S is supposed to be for those other gamers that they know that they're trying to attract. Look, dude, it's like everything else, man. You need to get the general public in there. Once you get the normies, I call them normies. Not to be. It's not a pejorative. I'm saying it as that's just how I look at them as. Right? It's just they're just normal people that are not just regular gamers, right? So that's the people that you want to come into, and more importantly, you want those people to subscribe, right? So every time people look at Game Pass now, you can't say anything because they have AAA. I mean, look, the haters will always say that, but a lot of stuff are that the people that are just hating on Microsoft just to hate them, they're getting pushback, not from us. We've been pushing back for a long time, guys on the Xbox side. They're getting pushback from the average person because you're telling them something. They actually have the subscription. They're playing the games, and they're like, no, that's not true. That's not true. I play Forza. I actually like. It's like some people like they never play Gears, and they're like, I love Gears of War. I play the Ascent. I like Grounded. and Sea of Thieves. Who would have thought about Sea of Thieves? Sea of Thieves got so much hate when it came out. And just wait till 2023 when all this stuff hits. It's gonna be crazy. I'm not looking forward to it. It's ridiculous, dude. I wish Microsoft would like not put games. I can't keep up, man. It's ridiculous. That it's like they show a list like when they did it in what is it, September, November? No, September, October, November. It was the September, October list. I think it was the September list. Came out and there was like some really, really good games. And then people were like, "Oh, well, what game is this?" And complaining, right? And so, but they just didn't release that list. That's just what they showed you, right? Telling you what they know, confirming what's coming in. And then as the month get on, they were dropping all this other crap. And I don't mean crap. It's just they just constantly put, like how we got Deathloop, right? And Chivalry 2. Nobody, I think they talked about it, but nobody was expecting it, right? Because they just keep on putting stuff every month. So whatever they say they're going to put in, you tend to get more, and that's the problem I'm having, keeping track of everything, because it's a lot to. Dude, I'm old, man. I don't have the same type of memory that I used to. Yeah, Spiritfarer. Yeah, that's the one. That's another one. Yeah, I bought that day one, dude. I played the demo and I already knew I was gonna love it, so I just bought it because it was like 29, 19. It was on. No, I think I bought it for like 24 or 19. It was like on sale. Yeah, don't sleep on those sales, guys. Keep up with that stuff because that stuff is no joke. You're definitely gonna get your money's worth. And like I said, use the wish list on the store. So if you can't afford it, maybe like what happened to me last month. There was 4 games leaving the service that I definitely wanted to buy. Right, I picked them all up. I actually wanted to buy 5 games, but Pit, like it was called Pit Into the Pit. I couldn't get that because the game makes me nauseous. That's the first time I was thankful that I got nauseous from a game because I didn't have to worry about buying it. I didn't last but 2 minutes before I was getting sick, and that bummed me out because I watched people playing. I wanted to play it again. The game was cool, right? But then I ended up buying 4 games. But I think 2 of them were like I think they were 20, and then one was 12. Right. All in all, I didn't spend any more than $50. So I think that's a pretty good deal, right? I got 4 for the price of one, and they are indie games. But if you get like say like you have a bill popped up, like I have to pay for my car, or thank God I didn't have to pay for my car. That was not the issue. But I was looking at a $2,500 payment if the warranty didn't cover it. The warranty did, so I didn't have to worry about that. But stuff like that pops up, right? Something comes up with your kids, or something goes wrong with your plumbing. And so what you do is you just get those games and you just wish list them, and when you can have Microsoft track it. And what they do, man, is they'll send you a notification if it's on sale. And then if you keep up with the weekly sales, they might fall in there. It's either or. Gunfire Reborn that just came out. Yeah, I know. I downloaded that last night. I don't know if I want to play it. I'll probably end up liking it. It's another game that'll suck up my time. Echo Generation is amazing. Yeah, Spiritfarer is the best. I put so many hours into. Yep, such chill games. Yeah, and that's what's frustrating to me, man. All of this stuff is getting lost in that mix, right? Because of all the hate Microsoft gets, man. Once people start getting a hold of these games and step outside their comfort zone, again, just like Netflix, man. It's one of the best feelings I have with Netflix is when I find that movie I'm not expecting anything from that movie, and then I watch it and it blows me away. Right? It used to be like that with gaming, man. We used to do those dumpster dives. You'd be Electronic Boutique or when GameStop first kicked off, they had those bargain bins, especially for the cartridges. You go dig in there and you find some game out of the like $1, $2 or whatever, and out of the 20 games you bought, you'd be lucky if you got like 2 that were great. But all it took was one, dude. You found that one great game and you were just happy. You felt like you did something. But yeah, definitely Spiritfarer and Echo Generation. Again, 2 games that are just sitting in my backlog. Yeah, the indie games are very top of the list games on Game Pass. Yeah, they're not throwaway games. No, they're not. And again, that's the unfortunate part, right? Because people, the narrative that's out there, where people say that kind of stuff, that Microsoft has no games. Right? The only thing that upsets me about that is that when you're putting that thing out there, knowing that you don't have the Xbox or you don't play the game or that you have Game Pass, is that you know, you could be taking away an experience from somebody else. But because it's all about choice, man, and the more we have, the better. Well, Xbox has a problem with games releasing completed. They're always missing content or bugs. You got to sort that out. Forza is like the only game that comes out complete. Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? But to be fair, like a lot of other companies are going through that as well. But I mean, if you are, dude, nobody's. I'm hard on Microsoft as well for the right reasons, and I agree. If you wanna be the next big thing, and if you wanna be, I want them to be that industry leader, right? And if you want to be that industry leader, man, you got to show up and show out, right? Especially if it's first party. I know a lot of Microsoft. I think their focus right now is because of everything going on right now, and I know they talk about crunch and stuff like that, but being as a person that work from home, right, and trying to and the type of job I have, which is just administrative but a lot of data entry. It just was easy. It was better for me to be at work because of the type of equipment that I got to maintain and stuff like that. But I was forced to kind of do it from home, and yeah, it's challenging, dude. I had one monitor. I had two monitors at work. I didn't realize how good I had it until I was stuck at home, dude. I actually had to break out a pen and pad just to track notes and stuff like that. It was crazy. But yeah, that aside though, I mean, I'm trying to be understanding with them. But yeah, if you want to be, like how they talk about age and stuff like that, and I think what Asobo Studios, what's the game that just released? Gosh, I kicked myself, man. The one with the rats. I can't believe I can't remember the name of that game right now. It's just been being on everybody's feed for like the last week. But they released it in Asia, and I follow a lot of the Korean Xbox guys and a lot of the Japanese Xbox people. And they were complaining that it didn't have localization, right, for Japanese or Korean, which kind of surprised me. So, like, if Microsoft wants to appeal to the Asian market, they have to do that stuff. They have to be more proactive, right? I mean, they're talking. Phil always talks about those 3 billion gamers, and I know Microsoft's putting the infrastructure and stuff like that. But when you're starting, you gotta come correct. So yeah, I agree. You know, all this crap about them, all this stuff like it's keep being rehashed in these gaming circles about what Microsoft's problems is. This is the stuff that they should be looking at, right? Because it goes directly to the business and their consumer base, and more importantly, as Satya said, those first-time consumers that are coming on Xbox. Now, I think they have a lot to offer them, and that's why the people are there. But still, like right now with my Series X, I'm having issues with the network. Right, it's telling me I have a cable plugged in when I don't. And I went the router. I went through my router, but it couldn't be the router because everything else works. So it has to do something with the Series X. So I'm trying to work through that. Little stuff like that. But I'm an Xbox guy, right? So I have no problem dealing with it in a sense, right? It is kind of frustrating when you want to play games and you can't connect to the network. But again, if you're looking at those people that you're trying to bring on board, right, as first timers, man, you gotta be squared away. Microsoft needs to do better with promoting games. One game event a year is not enough. It really takes the shine away from smaller titles that could hit big audience. I think once they go back from once all this stuff like it was hard for certain countries have certain regulations for the pandemic. I think once all of this stuff goes away, look, E3 wasn't even live this past year, right? But it's going to be live next year. And I honestly believe Microsoft is going to course correct because honestly, Microsoft's the only one that's putting on stuff. I mean, a lot of it is digital, right? Which I don't mind personally, but I definitely agree. Like them, that's why I think they showed up at Gamescom, right? Because they want to do well in Europe, and Gamescom is a one-on-one with the actual gamers, the actual consumers, right? And that's important. Yeah, I agree, and I think they will next year, man. I think we'll hopefully if everything goes, if we start opening up more and everything goes back to normal. As things go back to normal, I think we'll get a little bit more. Right. I mean, I think I'll be honest with you, man. With all the studios they own, especially if they get ABK, dude, they could do like a week at E3, just them, right? And I'm expecting them to pick up other people. I don't know if you guys watch my other videos, but I talk about Sega a lot. That's, of course, my gamer tag is Sega Forever, so I'm a huge Sega fan, old school. So I definitely want to see that happen. Like the last Microsoft E3, all I remember is Starfield and Real. Well, you know what they're doing, right? What you got to do, or this is what I do just because I'm sick like that, but I rewatched the broadcast because you remember they were getting hit on, they just want we just want to see the games, Microsoft. We just want to see the games. We want to hear about all this stuff. right? Microsoft's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, and so they'll just keep on hitting you with those trailers. And then yeah, but you have to, dude. You have to go back and look at it. But I mean, if you're gonna remember any two, because they're those are the two big titles that suck all the air out of them. It's interesting to me with the Starfield. I don't pay attention to the Xbox guys as much. I pay attention to the Bethesda fans. You want to really get like a feel of what Bethesda, go follow their fandom, go follow some of their guys on YouTube and get their reactions, man. It's a dude. My daughter, dude, she loves Fallout. Like I would even put her in that Bethesda category. I don't know how she got into this stuff. My girl went from playing Minecraft and Animal Crossing, and then now she's like killing mutants, and it's crazy. So she plays it, and I was laughing because she was playing Fallout 3 or Fallout 4, and she was just as she was playing, she's just complaining about the walls. She's trying to make her base. She's complaining about why the walls don't line up, and then she'll go out on missions, come back, and she got to deal with all the settlers she has on there, and she's just like, it's amazing. I love watching it, and it's funny because they're that's the to me that's the fan base that they got to focus on even before the Xbox guys. If I'm being honest, that's their bread and butter. Sucks how the average game is only interested in first-person shooters, third-person action games, and sports games like FIFA matter. Yeah, yeah, they run the gamut. I think it'd be good for Microsoft to buy EA if they can. That way they can get Battlefield, work on that, get another option out there for people who like first-person shooters of that nature. But definitely Madden and FIFA. That would be a good pickup for them. But yeah, I agree. And it's unfortunate, man, because they're missing out on so many great experiences. And unless you try it, but like Issa was saying, right? I don't know what Microsoft. I mean, I agree. They have to. They have to promote. They have to promote. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what else they could do. If you guys have suggestions, just let me know, or just put it out there. Go text Aaron Greenberg. Aaron Greenberg is always talking to the community. I mean, that's what I feel bad about. It's just like I feel like so many people are missing out on those experiences. And that's why I talked to Hebot, the world's most powerful gamer. A lot of the guys in the circle that I talk about, we talk about this all the time. And I'm like, gaming might be a $1 billion business. It might be huge, but the actual gamers themselves, the people that actually are gamers, as far as the culture of gaming, right? Like we're the ones that do the shows, like look at all the stuff and keep up with all the news and actually buy the games and stuff like that. To me, it's like we're still that niche. We might have grown, but it's still a niche group of people, right? And that's what I think. That's why I think Game Pass is so important, and that's what I think Microsoft is looking at, is trying to bring that to the masses and get them hooked on gaming the way we are. Oh yeah, thank you, Requiem. Thank you, Global. Sorry it took me so long to get there. Yeah, that game looks amazing, though, right? Oh, that game. I feel bad because I never played the first one, and I don't want to play the second one when I'm playing the first one. But at the current rate at which I play games and the time that I have, I don't see myself getting around to it. But I think it's awesome that it's in Game Pass. Yet another high quality game. And it's funny because so many people are playing it on my feed. But then, of course, in the general news, right, in the gaming news, they're like, "Are people playing this game?" I mean, it doesn't seem to be popular because they're not hearing the buzz and stuff like that. I was like, they're not hearing the buzz because people are playing it. That's what gets me with these people. I was like, dude, this is what drives me nuts about my channel. Is like either I can make a video, right, or I can play games, right, and that's the crux, right? It's just like they have so many games to play. A lot of times I'll tend to go to the game. Now I mess myself up when I turn on Modern Warfare, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna play a couple games, and then like 3 hours later, right, it's like 1 in the morning, and I'm screwed. Hey, what's up, Radiance? Yeah, sorry, I shut you out. Game Pass is good because it can broaden your taste. Yeah, the variety is for all the diversity stuff we get in gaming, that people talk about diversity in games, and you have Game Pass, which is the most diverse I've ever seen gaming at any point in time. And it's because you see it that way because they give you access for such a cheap price. You don't even have to get the ultimate. You can just get the $9.99. That's what my daughter had. I ended up giving her the ultimate so that she can play on the PC if she needs to. And like if all of us, I have a son too. He's mostly on his PC. But with Modern Warfare, since I bought that on sale, I started playing it. He'd come over and play with it. Now he wants to play it. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Family Pass. But exactly correct. and it's unfortunate. Game Pass is not getting that credit at all. All they talk about Game Pass. Oh, how much did Microsoft pay these guys? Like, dude, they're $1 trillion business. What do you care? That's not even. I don't know. Man. Are they making any money? Is Game Pass making any money? It has to be costing Microsoft money. Not even considering the level of which money that Microsoft has. Because people have this inability to think outside themselves, so they're applying it to their own situations as opposed to looking at who Microsoft is. And I'm not like over here bragging on Microsoft that they're $1 trillion company, but they're just on a different spectrum. You know, I mean, geez, when they started putting stuff like what's that game? I love it. There's that shooter that came up. I'm tired, guys. I'm drawing up. Like I should have drank some caffeine before I did this. But they've just been putting so many AA, AAA, and indie games in the system in Game Pass. It's not even. Dude, they got money. They got bank. Oh yeah, Radiance. It already has shown me games I would never have played, like Raji. Yep, exactly, bro. Right, exactly, Google. And that's what you want. That's what we want that for just the average gamer to come in and play a game. Yeah, they're just trying to. Dude, they are like on steroids with this. They're like, it took it when you look at if you can. And I know that I do this a lot, but it's the only comparison I can make. But if you look at Netflix, right, when Netflix started off, the reason Netflix was so popular wasn't because of some of the big movies that they would get, which would hit, or some of their content which they didn't really have. Like I remember when I first started watching Netflix, they had just a couple of their original programming, and there was one of them that I absolutely loved it. And it was Steven Van Zandt. Was it Steven Van Zandt? No, what's his name? Anyway, he was on the E Street Band with Bruce Springsteen. He used to be the guitarist or whatever. Am I dating myself? Dude, I don't know how old you guys are. Anyway, this guy was on. He was on an original series which I love. But for the most part, if I'm being honest, dude, I would watch stupid stuff like the catfishing stuff. Right? You wake up, you wash your car, you sit down, put on Netflix. Oh, maybe I'll watch a couple shows later on. It's like midnight, and you watch like 5 seasons. You know, of people just trying to get catfish in the river, that kind of stuff. So that's basically how Netflix started off. But then over time, right, they built up on the content. They realized content is king. With Microsoft, they've learned. I mean, that's already an understood, especially with Microsoft. If you listen to Sarah Bond, she talks about that all the time. Right, it's the content that they're trying to put in. That's why she's always and kind of I know that's her job, right? But I mean, they're full speed ahead with that, and that's what's causing a lot of these. That's what's causing a lot of people to come over, right? Because it is that variety, right? Just like Radiance, like you were saying, like broaden people's taste. Because there's something for. This is why I don't like people. Like when people start talking trash, I know they don't have Xbox, I know they don't have Game Pass, because there's something for everybody in that ecosystem and in that service. There's something for everybody. Which when somebody just starts off with that, just talking trash, I'm like, that dude, that your opinion doesn't mean anything. Lately, I've been more into strategy games and CRPGs because of Game Pass. Yeah, they have a ton of those too. The only problem I have sometimes with the strategy games is using the controller as opposed to the keyboard and mouse. That's why it's kind of weird because some of my friends see me on because I have the PC Game Pass, Ultimate Game Pass, which has the PC stuff. Because some games are just easier to play on the PC. I'm not saying I'm a PC guy by any stretch of the imagination. Right? I'll leave that to my son. He builds his own PC. He plays games on there. I have no idea how he does a keyboard and mouse. But there's some games that are like that, and for me, that is the strategy stuff. The sim stuff too, Radiance. A lot of the sim stuff they have is amazing as well. And a lot of this stuff, saying like I said, this like you guys were saying as well. This is not throwaway type games. These are actually quality games, and they're long games. I think that was one of the concerns when Game Pass first started. You just thought they not just have a low quality of games, but just short games. Like mobile phone games, stuff like that. And nothing wrong with mobile phone games, but I'm just saying, right? That's what a lot of people thought it was going to be like, and it's nothing like that. But you people have found out, the hard way, like myself, when you have Dragon Quest in there, take you bazillion hours to finish that game. And now they're talking about Star Ocean coming over. Google pull up that one. Which one are you talking about? Yeah, Raji. Yeah, wasn't it on sale too? Like, I think it was on sale for like $4.99 recently. Sony has something in the contract with localization. It's not expensive. Oh, is that what it is? Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. There was something like Sorry about the noise, guys. I live on Homestead. Can't be helped. Um, yeah. Okay. So Sony. Yeah, that's right. I think that I did see that now that I think about it. Thanks, Nathan, for pointing that out. Yeah, something that they had in the contract. Hey, man. See how Sony is? Some of you guys don't know, man. If you talk to me or Hebot, if he was here, we could tell, man. These dudes, they've been dirty for the longest time. And the thing about it is, unlike some of the Sony fans now, I was a hardcore Sony fan as far as the electronics. Everything I owned was Sony's. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, guys. And Sony dominated the electronics. People don't realize how, for all the crap that people talk about Microsoft, people don't realize how big Sony is. Back in the day, they were everything, man. They owned multiple studios. They dominated music, electronics. They got into gaming and then movies. I think they had like 6 or 7 movie studios under them. I don't know if you had like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Man. They're one of the reasons why indie titles blew up. Indie movies blew up. But they're not that same. They're not that company anymore. They act like they are. They think they got that '90s swag, but they don't got any of that stuff now. This is why they're running around trying to block this deal from Microsoft. Yeah, I go through phases of more console oriented or PC type games. Yeah, options, dude. Oh, Pentiment. There's Humankind and Pentiment coming soon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Pentiment. I love that type of style, and I love the era. I don't know like if that's gonna transition, like what I expect it to be, but I'll definitely give it a try. Oh, that's Fallout 4 with the base building. Yeah, yeah, my daughter, dude. But just to hear her, like, yeah, I'll read it. Sorry, that's Fallout 4 with the base building. Little kids love those base building games these days, just like most of my nephews and nieces. Yeah, because like I know for my daughter, she likes being in that world. Building her own stuff, kind of being influencing and being in control. But man, she just gets mad when it doesn't line up right. I said, blame Bethesda. But you know what happens? She complains about it and she spends hours on it. So I'm actually playing Persona 5 on my phone. Be like, wow, that's awesome, dude. You're playing Persona 5 on your phone via the cloud. It works surprisingly well. Yeah, the cloud is not a reality for me. I wish it was because what I would do is I would play a lot of those smaller games, right? Um, because I think they're made for mobile, and I have to connect it from my controller if I really needed to. But even their touch controls are pretty awesome. But where I live, cloud is not an option at all. And some of my friends told me if I upgrade my phone, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna upgrade my phone for that because I'm not even sure if that's gonna work, right? Supposedly, Xbox wants to work with Chinese developers to make the next big game. Yeah, they have been a little bit already. I mean, they're looking at the Chinese market, so we'll see how that goes. I definitely want them to work with the Korean, South Korea. South Korea's got a lot of, and I know they are, but they got a lot of, they're like an untapped region for Microsoft. Right? They got a game called Doki 5 coming out. Doki V coming out. And that, if you guys haven't seen the trailer for that, go check that out. It's by Prolibus, I believe. The same guys who do, oh my gosh, what's that game they do? That multiplayer game. Dude, I might have to bring up Bang. This is ridiculous. I can't. Gosh. It's one of those memory pills. Hold on, guys. I gotta at least get one right there. What is this? The desert. Oh, they're working on a Crimson Desert. Is it Black something? Black Pearl? Or Pro? Is it Prolibus? Okay, this is. But regardless, man, they have really good games. Yeah, Dokavi. Yeah, Prolibus is the actual developer. I wish I could come up with the name of it. But it's an awesome game. I was addicted to that for a while. Oh, Black the Tanks Google. Thank you. Yeah, it's called the Black Desert Online. I fell off of that, but I need to get back on it. But like, if Microsoft is looking for somebody, man, these guys are good. They should really look at getting them. And whatever engine they're using, that their games look amazing. You know how the style of their games. But Dokkaebi could be like something that could be the next big thing. I know that Microsoft was kind of talking about how they missed out on, what's it, that one game that they're talking about from China. So that's why they're looking closer at China. And so, this is somebody they should be looking at. I'm not saying that they want to be purchased,. But I definitely would look at. Oh wait, sorry. What did you say? Google. Did you see that Square thing? They're doing bad in Japan. It seems like they want to be bought. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with a lot of these guys doing this, right? I mean, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot, right? This is like economics 101 when it comes to, you selling a product, dude. You want the biggest, base as possible. And I could understand maybe they did Japan because they're localizing something, right? It would make more sense to people in Japan and in other countries. Um, or maybe because of the way their staff is, right? Like you see, that's why Microsoft's reaching out to people in Japan. That's how we got that. You're reading Chronicles, right? Absolutely love that game, and that was just a side scroller. They got a bigger game coming out next year, or is it 2024? Well, the next game they have in that series is going to be fully fleshed out JRPG. Um, but Microsoft reaching out to these people. That's what I think they're doing in Japan. I expect big announcements next year because they've been like the same thing that they've been doing with the idea at Xbox, right? They built up those, they're building the foundation, and then they start growing it, and then all of a sudden it comes, it starts to blossom, and boom, we got too many games to play. Yeah, but that doesn't, the thing is, I think it was it who was it bought their their Western games, like the financial conglomerate in Europe, but they got all the Western games. So yeah, it looks like they're casting for sale sign, right? Yeah, I agree with you. If Sony picked them up, that I mean, it'd be cool if Microsoft did, but if Sony picked them up, I wouldn't really care. Uh, it's hilarious how Square is always blaming Western developers, but now put out a statement that one thing is. Yeah, yep. When they released that statement, I knew it was BS. It's like anything else, man. Like in the film industry, right? If you can make a great movie with a big budget and it's an awesome movie, but then the audience doesn't respond to it, and then you're out all that money, you have to adjust. So they definitely should be looking at their costs. I think that's one of the problems, right? And I think that's where Microsoft doesn't get enough credit for that because they'll go to people and they'll help them with the game. There's a cooking simulator game that's in Game Pass. I wanted to try that so badly, but just the controls need to be better. And the people, the developers, I think they're out of the Philippines. They actually let it slip how much Microsoft paid them. Microsoft paid them 500,000 to put that game in Game Pass. So Microsoft is not opposed to having people play, paying people to, complete the games that they want to do. Right? It's just not about greed and everything, and it's about Radiance was saying, man. It's about the variety in the system or in the Game Pass subscription service. What is it? Google Poll. Yeah, it's Pearl Abyss for Black Desert. Yeah, thank you, Google. Yeah, I should have went to sleep 2 hours ago. uh, I see this is going to be a problem for me doing late Friday nights. But I do appreciate you guys being there. But that's the only thing. I'm sorry. I know I wanted the whole crew to be in here, but unfortunately, the timing. Right, I'm trying to get this stuff done. But I definitely appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, but just to kind of bring it to a crescendo, talking about this. For me personally, and I know some of the other guys have thoughts on this, but for me personally, I'll just give my thoughts about it. I just need, gaming is transitioning. The industry is changing. We're going through another evolution of gaming. You see it with the hardware that's being produced. You see it with the type of games, whether it's on console, PC, or online, as far as the cloud, right? we're in flux. We're in flux. So, somebody needs to take that lead. And for me, that company needs to be Microsoft, right? For a multitude of reasons, right? But number one is that they are the biggest, right? So they can take some of that cost, right? They have the money, um, they have the infrastructure in place, they have the ability, and the great thing that they don't get enough credit for is the networking that they have, right? Putting all these people together, right? Building networks within networks. It's interesting to me because when we're in lockdown, we had to use Microsoft Teams, and it amazed me how easily that transition was, right? Because in the job that I have, we have a lot of meetings, and we have to even have more meetings because we're in all together. Because a lot of times I work in an office environment where it's easy to just go and see somebody or email them and get a response. You don't have to like get together all the time. But when everybody's at home, right? Stuff that we would just commonplace, maybe get together, maybe two or three people in a room somewhere, or just in passing, right? Everything became like a meeting online, and it was crazy, and it just blew me away how well Microsoft Teams being as the type of it wasn't like they've done better with it, they've grown it out and stuff like that, but I mean it was not the end all type of service, but they handled it well, and that goes to show the capabilities of Microsoft. And look, I'm not a Windows techie type of guy and stuff like that. I mean, I'm just speaking from my personal experience, and it was amazing to me that they were able to pull that off in such a short period of time. So if they can do that on a global scale, imagine what they can do with gaming. Now, as Isa, I think you were pointing that out earlier, they do have hurdles, man. There's some stuff they need to get in, and I know they're making headway into that, but yeah, they need to really focus on. There's specific things they need to lock down, localization, right? Appealing to a more global audience. Keep on adding, like Radiance was saying, more diversity and more variety um, to the game lineup, right? And then for me, it's always about the content now. It's not a console war anymore; it's a content war. And right now, Microsoft is taking that lead. They laid the foundation and they put in all the blood, sweat, and tears. And that's another reason why I want them to front this, right? Because you gotta need people in there that are committed to it, and Microsoft is committed to it, right? Nintendo doesn't really need to be, right? Nintendo is Nintendo. Nintendo does whatever Nintendo wants to do, and when you got Pokemon and a Switch that sells a bazillion units, you can pretty much do what you want. But again, the only reason I wouldn't want Nintendo to lead this charge is because they occupy a certain spot. They have a certain type of clientele. The industry will not grow with them, right? And that's not a slight on Nintendo. That's to me, that's just the reality, right? They're not. It's like, look, I live in Hawaii, man. There's some people that just want to live on this island for their whole life. They don't have no plans of going anywhere else but staying on this island. And some of them on one island in that one area they occupy, which is fine. That's why I look at with Nintendo. That's what the space they want to occupy, right? They have their games, they have their base. They're always going to have the child. My daughter. Then my daughter was playing games I was playing when I was younger. It blows my mind. That's what they have. For Sony, they do not deserve to be the leaders of this gaming industry, right? For all the hate that Microsoft gets about not being innovative, less powerful system, no games, holding gaming back, you know, it's actually Sony that's the albatross on gaming right now, right? Just look at the things that they're doing, man. And some of it is because they don't want to give up that lead, right? They like things the way they are, but like I said, things are changing, and you need somebody that's willing to get out there and be that pioneer, and that's Microsoft. Microsoft's the only one that can do it right now, right? And as Microsoft does it, right, it doesn't mean that they're going to be like they're going to dominate everything. Gaming is way bigger than that. You see, if you guys keep up with the CMA and what they're talking about, right? As far as what Microsoft could and could not do, right? Like what they're gonna do to the industry, right? Like like they have that type of power. If Microsoft had that type of power, they wouldn't even have to go through the CMA, right? What Microsoft is doing is they're just future casting and looking towards the future. But a lot of things change. You guys know as well as I do. You guys have been gaming as well as long as I have. There was a time where Sega dominated. There was a time where Nintendo dominated, right? Or even PlayStation and Xbox for a time with the 360, right? Everything goes in cycles with gaming. Because why? Because gaming is a part of technology. And somebody's always building a bigger, better mousetrap, especially in tech. And then some people succeed in doing that, and some people fail. Let's look at Stadia, right? Which I love that, as people are saying here, they're so big and they're too big to fail, and then Stadia closes up shop, right? And then I'm like sitting there looking at that's why there's more to gaming than just having a lot of money, right? And Microsoft right now is the only company that has a piece of everything. Has a piece of all has all the pieces of the formula. Not every single piece, but they have a piece of a little bit of everything, right? So I'd rather them push forward, right? Because another thing they don't get credit for is the hits that they take, right? They take a lot of hits too, and sometimes that's the only way you can learn. And given the way the industry is and the cost of everything like that, I mean, to me, it's by default already that they take the lead in gaming. Thanks, Global man. I appreciate it, dude. Yeah, yeah. If you want, man, let me know, dude. If you guys look, dude. I mean, I I have people that are going to come on the podcast and stuff like that. But if you guys have something you want to say, man, this is an open forum. The only thing, I mean, of course, for Xbox guys, I'm going to invite other people on here and stuff like that. Sony got the mind share though. It's the global. Oh yeah, definitely. Trust me, I know, dude. I was knee deep in Sony as far as electronics, man. Everything I own, the only thing I owned that was not a Sony electronic product back in the day was Iowa. I had an Iowa shelf system, and that was the brand. That nothing could touch that. But I had the Sony. I had a Sony Discman. I had a Sony Walkman that lasted me forever. Sony Discman. Um, and the Discman, I got one of the first ones with the auto skip or with the skip protection. Because before, when you had a Discman, you'd walk around with it. You couldn't really turn it or anything, right? Because the disc would skip. It's playing in there. The CD, sorry, was playing in there, and it would skip. So Sony came up with that skip reducer thing, and then so basically you could walk around turning. Well, I could keep it in my pocket, keep it in my bag. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't skip. Right. But I remember back then, Sony used to build a lot of their own stuff, and they don't do that anymore. Japan doesn't do that anymore. They're like us. They outsource everything, and I think that's hurt their quality and put them in a bad position. In fact, if you keep up with Japan and what they're doing, they're pushing robotics really hard because they're afraid of the population decrease that's going to happen there in Japan. You know, so they're looking to assist it, like when people get like with the elderly and stuff like that, for a lot of their service industry because they're very homogenous in Japan. Right? My kids just trust me. My kids are part Japanese. So they went to Japan, and even they were blown away. They weren't prepared for, because they've never been to a place like to another country, like Japan or like how South Korea is. There's certain countries you go to where they're just one ethnic culture, right? And like I said, I live in Hawaii, so there's a lot of Japanese Asians here, right? Filipino, Korean, a lot of different nationalities here. People from India. We get the whole Pacific Rim in Hawaii now. And then I grew up in Florida too, so I get the Anglo-Euro version. I met people from France and stuff like that. But when my kids went to Japan, they they texted me and blew my mind. They texted me with Dad, everybody here is Japanese. I'm like, I know you're in Japan. He goes, no, Dad, you don't understand. Everybody here is Japanese. So it was funny. It was funny to see that reaction. But Xbox going to change that if they continue being consumer friendly. Yeah, they have to be. That's the great thing about all the hate that they get. Right, it's a buffer for us. I mean, I don't think it's fair. I think it's hypocritical. Don't like the principle of it, right? I think they should definitely get more credit. But on the positive side, right? Microsoft even steps out of line a little bit, right? All the people that hate them will jump on them, and then us as consumers will be like, "Look, man, let's change this." Again, using that the games for gold thing, right? When they did that, when they tried to raise the price of that, you see how fast that got turned around. So it does have its privileges, definitely. Yeah, yeah, Stadia. Oh my gosh, dude, that was perfect timing, right? Oh, Microsoft's too big to fail. And then the announcement, the Stadia closes down, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay, well, that didn't age well." Yeah, it's a real thing, man. Their culture, being at their more patriarchal, right? But a lot of the women are working now too, have careers, and that's actually a scientific thing. I actually studied that when I was taking my sociology class. It was actually pretty cool. I took a sociology class, and I thought, man, this is probably like some hippy dippy stuff, you know. And I felt bad because after I took it, I didn't realize how scientific it was because they study patterns. They look at stats, but they study patterns. And then when it comes to people, things, and cultures and stuff like that, they tend to move. There's an ebb and flow to things, and that's why we're having problems now because there's a natural ebb and flow, and we're Actually, is the some of the stuff that we're doing is messing with that natural ebb and flow. So for the Japanese people, like in Western countries, right, we've we've been up on a higher epilogue and stuff like that. So when that tends to happen, you have reduced birth rates and stuff like that. And this is not just us, like currently. This is over. This has been tracked for decades, or I mean, centuries. Yeah, it was interesting. It actually changed my perspective on sociology when I started seeing the patterns. I thought it was really cool. I believe in Japan is so stressful because of the homogeneous culture. I don't know. I think just like any other culture, like how like if you're from here and you like if you look at how women are here or how we are here, and then you look at someplace like the Middle East where it looks like women have to wear, like something that people here wouldn't want to go through, women here wouldn't go through. Um, but because that's their culture, right? It's almost like we're like it's harder for us to understand that than it is for them because they actually live. I tell my kids that all the time. With the cost of everything going up, I was eating like a can of sardines, and I was eating it because it's actually good for me now, right? I have to eat a certain amount of iron, a certain amount of iron in my diet, right? So I got to eat fish with tiny bones, and sardines are very high on that, right? Like you get a lot of zinc and stuff from it. And so it was funny to me because when I was younger, we had to eat sardines because it was affordable, right? You could get like a can for 15 cents. And my kids, we felt like they were kind of sad for me. I'm like, oh, don't be sad. I didn't know. I love sardines. And that's just because I didn't know any better, right? But my kids would be harder for them, right? Because my kids are used to like going to Starbucks and McDonald's. I would never dare ask my dad to take me to McDonald's. Dude. I get a crack and I get a slap in the back of the head. Hawaii is so chill though, man. It's getting crazy, bro. Oh my gosh, man. People on the road, man. The traffic is bad. The population's growing. We don't have the right amount of roads. All our roads are bad now because when these roads were built, the population, of course, was smaller. They were built for a certain amount of people. And now, since the island's just consistently growing, and then the tourists are coming back in droves now, man, it's causing a lot of stress that you would, yeah, like you said, we have a local style here, but it's becoming like the mainland. And I can say that because I lived in the mainland, and I was in the Navy and I was stationed in San Francisco, and that's like one of the biggest metropolitans I've been in. And I've been to Miami too, but Miami was pretty awesome. The people there was laid back, but this is back in the '80s, dude. So yeah, we can't touch LA, bro. My bad. We can't touch LA. Yeah, we can't hold the candle to LA at all. But if you were here, like if you grew up here in the '80s and maybe you went away, then you came back, you would definitely see the difference. And just the development in general, like they built so many homes, right? And that's the sad part. They built the homes, they never worked on the roads. Yeah, it's like as we say, you're lucky you live Hawaii thing that people say all the time, but it is horrible. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. I know it's been about an hour and a half. It's been, yeah, dude, this was fun. Thank you guys for coming into the chat, man, for commenting. If you guys want to, dude, if you guys want to jump on a podcast, man, I definitely, I love what a lot of you guys are saying. Um, and if you guys want to talk about it live, just let me know. I definitely will invite you. Like I said, I have a crew of guys that are coming here, and they'll be here too. The times they're gonna be here, but I started this podcast way too late by their standard. Um, and I feel bad if I'm glad they kind of didn't come in because I know a lot of them that they got stuff to do tomorrow and stuff like that. So yeah, but I definitely want to be more consistent with this. Yeah, it's Sega Forever. Sega SEGA, the number 4 and EVA, and it's all in caps. All in caps. The number 4 is just the number 4. Sega Forever. Yeah, just friend me, man. I'll friend you. Maybe we can play. I don't make any promises though. Yeah, but let me know, Issa, if you want to come on board. You too. Uh, dude, where's my thing? Gogo. I want to pronounce it right. And then I'm not sure if Radiance is the Radiance. If you want to come on board, let me know. Always willing to because that's what all this is, dude. Is just like a regular, water cooler session. I just want to do this because I want more representation for Xbox, especially with all the stuff that comes out for it. And look, I know Xbox is going to be fine, especially Microsoft. And I tell people this all the time when they used to talk about Microsoft or Xbox, getting out of the gaming industry. And I've always told people this, and I'll say this to this day: the only people that'll get rid of Xbox is Microsoft. That's all you have to worry about. It's not going to be Sony. It's not going to be Nintendo. It's not going to be the gaming community or all the trolls out there. They have no say in it. The ones that's going to shut down Xbox would be Microsoft for whatever reason, right? Because they are a business and stuff. But with Satya Nadella, he's all in with Xbox. And I knew that because he would be at Microsoft events and he'd be talking about like the suite of Microsoft stuff, and Xbox would come into that conversation. And he wasn't saying it as a throwaway. He was talking about like the technology, and he's talking about cloud. And then I remember in this one event he talked about Scorpio, right? The project we have is Xbox. We call it Project Scorpio, and he talked about the chip in somewhat specific detail. It was really cool. And when I did that, I knew they were on board. Yeah, no problem, Google. Yeah, Issa, let me know, guys. But anyway, yeah, thanks you guys for coming on board, man. Thanks for the chat, dude. That was pretty awesome. It made this really easy. I ain't gonna lie, dude. I tend to rely on a lot of my guests. It's because the guys I hang out with, they're very. I like to feed off of them. So it was good having you guys in the chat that I could feed off of you. Much appreciated. But anyway, Xbox All In channel, host Sega Forever. Thank you guys for joining. Shout out to Issa, Gogo, Radiance, Nathan. Thanks for being there as well, man. Let me know too. The forum is open to you guys as well. But yeah, Xbox All In channel, host Sega Forever. We out.